Hi, welcome back. So now as kids are heading back to school, there's a couple important things that we want to talk about. One of them is how they carry their stuff to and from school, also known as their backpack. Secondly, once at school, we want to talk a little bit about their seated position, since they're going to be seated for many hours a day with classes. But let's first start with the backpack. I've had some parents talk about the idea that because some of the schools are so big, their child doesn't even have time to go back to their locker. So they're taking all their books with them all day long from class to class. So in that idea, let's talk briefly about backpacks. So with a backpack, you'll many times see a kid take a backpack over one shoulder and just kind of hold it in that situation there. Now, look at what that already does to my rib cage and to my shoulders. My right shoulder is definitely a little bit higher because I've got all the weight more to my right side. There's a little shift of my weight through my rib cage to the left. Done over and over and over again, this could lead to a rib cage compensation, lead to a pelvis compensation, start leading into chains of muscles being overactive. So you want to make sure that you try to talk to your child about keeping that backpack on evenly on both sides. So from this situation now, the weight is distributed somewhat more evenly from side to side. Now, many times you'll notice with some kids, what they'll do is they'll drop their backpacks really low. With that idea in mind, again, we're potentially setting up for compensation where either they may lean back a little bit or they may lean forward away from it. You want to see if you can get that backpack up fairly high on their back so that they have that support in close to the rib cage. There are also many backpacks that actually have a clasp across the front to give a little bit more of that weight distribution all the way around the rib cage, something else that I would suggest getting. So now that we've covered a little bit about the backpack, let's talk about the seating position at school. So I'm going to take a brief pause here, and then we'll be right back to talk about sitting position. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about sitting position. Many times with students being in school for long periods of time, they may get fidgety and they may have to change their position a little bit. Actually, changing your position is actually pretty good. Humans are designed to move, so if we have to sit for long periods of time, slightly changing your position can be very beneficial. But let's start with the basic. So with the basic, many times what people do is in the seat part itself, they don't really sit all the way back. They sit about halfway back, and then they kind of sit down and back into the chair, okay? So this sets the rib cage behind the pelvis, creates a compression through the abdominals that kind of pushes out. We want to see if we can change that. So many times what we ask or what we suggest that they do here at Fostering Movement is that you take that pelvis, that tush, I want you to sit it back as far as you can in the chair, because what that'll do is create a better alignment from the rib cage down to the pelvis. Now, many times, even sitting in this position for long periods of time can be a little bothersome on the body. So we may ask the person to sit a little forward. You can even drop one leg down, because if you'll notice, as I drop that leg down, it kind of brings my pelvis forward a little bit more, gives me a nice alignment through the body. So this position is also very nice, can be a little fatiguing. So again, you can trade from leg to leg a little bit. And then you can also, again, go back to the concept of sitting all the way back in the chair, giving that back support again. So playing with those positions during the day helps to keep everything stacked up more correctly on top of each other, giving you more optimal alignment, and then reducing fatigue on any particular muscle groups. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening and seeing this video, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.